Politics of Separation by Mujo Muratovic and Cedric. The tensions that led Southern states to secede from the United States in 1861 are the focus of this video. From union to disunion. In 1846, the Wilmot Proviso was offered by Pennsylvania David Wilmot. David Wilmot declared slavery should be barred from any territory if gained from the Mexican-American War. This amendment was approved by the House but rejected by the Senate. California, the Compromise of 1850. Zach Taylor proposed that California and New Mexico should be new states. Many compromises and proposals were made to solve this problem. Following the proposals of John Calhoun, he warned that if California became a free state, Southerns would secede from the Union. In the end, California becomes a free state and New Mexico becomes a territory. Enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act. The Fugitive Slave Act was a federal law passed by the United States Congress in 1850 as part of the Compromise of 1850. The law required that all runaway slaves should be returned to their owners even if they had escaped to a free state. The act mandated the participation of citizens in the capture and return of fugitive slaves and imposed fines and imprisonment on anybody who aided a slave to their escape or refused to assist in their capture. The enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act was highly controversial and often met with resistance, including protests, riots, and acts of civil disobedience. The law played a significant role in the tensions that led to the American Civil War. The new Fugitive Slave Act went much further than any previous law. It created new corps of federal agents to help capture runaway slaves. Court-appointed federal commissioners would determine whether a person claimed by a slave catcher was a slave or a free state. $1,000 fine to anybody who helped a runaway. Uncle Tom's Cabin. Anger at the Fugitive Slave Act convinced Harriet Beecher Stowe, a popular author, to write Uncle Tom's Cabin. The book tells the story of Uncle Tom, a kind and noble enslaved man who is sold to different owners and faces various forms of cruelty and injustice. The novel also features other enslaved characters including Elisa, who escapes slavery with her son, and George Harris, who also escapes and eventually reunites with his family. The book was a significant cultural and political phenomenon in its time and helped fuel the abolitionist movement in the United States. It reached a wide audience and was translated into numerous languages. Uncle Tom's Cabin was a bestseller and one of the most influential novels of the 19th century. Uncle Tom's Cabin had a huge impact. It aided in changing public perception of slavery and the treatment of enslaved people. The novel's depiction of the horrors of slavery as well as the dignity and humanity of the enslaved people helped to mobilize the abolitionist movement. Uncle Tom's Cabin also led to outrage in the South as the South found it insulting. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. The Kansas-Nebraska Act was passed in 1854, creating the Kansas and Nebraska territories, but leaving the question of slavery open to local residents. The Kansas-Nebraska Act was controversial and sparked intense political and social debates, as it led to the expansion of slavery into new territories and further deepened the divide between pro-slavery and anti-slavery forces in the United States. The act also led to violence in Kansas as pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers clashed over the issue of whether to allow slavery in the territory. The Kansas-Nebraska Act is significant in American history as it is one of the events that contributed to the outbreak of the Civil War. The act helped to solidify the sectional tensions between the North and the South over the issue of slavery, and it ultimately led to the formation of the Republican Party, who opposed the expansion of slavery to new territories.
The congressional elections of 1854 and the birth of the Republican Party. The Kansas-Nebraska Act becomes an issue in the 1854 election for Congress. People that opposed the Kansas-Nebraska Act formed a political party called the Republican Party. This party was dedicated to stopping the spread of slavery. Leading Kansas was a battle of free soldiers versus pro-slavery forces. Leading Kansas was violence between pro- and anti-slavery forces in the Kansas Territory after the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854 that led to significant bloodshed and national attention for Kansas. A convention was held in December 1855 to talk about admitting Kansas as a free state. Kansas remained a territory until 1861. Dred Scott v. Stanford occurred on March 6, 1857, which was a Supreme Court case brought for Dred Scott, a slave demanding his freedom based on his residence in free territories. Slaves were not citizens of the United States, so the United States Supreme Court upheld slavery in the U.S. territories, denied black citizenship in America, and ruled that the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional. The economy, the Panic of 1857, and the Lincoln-Douglas debates. The economy of the United States was in a state of flux during the mid-19th century. The country was undergoing rapid industrialization and expanding westward, leading to significant economic growth, but also creating social and political tensions. In 1857, the country experienced a severe economic downturn known as the Panic of 1857, which led to widespread business failures and unemployment. The Lincoln-Douglas debates were influential in shaping public opinion and helped propel Lincoln to the presidency in 1860. The Panic of 1857 also had lasting effects on the country, contributing to the economic and political tensions that ultimately led to the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. The election of 1860. The presidential election of 1860 was a pivotal moment in American history. The country was deeply divided over the issue of slavery, with the North and South holding starkly different views on its future expansion. The election featured four major candidates, including Republican nominee Abraham Lincoln, who ran on a platform of containing slavery to its current borders and preventing its expansion into new territories. Lincoln won the election with a slim majority of the popular vote, but he carried a clear majority in the Electoral College. His victory was met with anger and resistance from many southern states, which saw his election as a direct threat to their way of life and their ability to control the institution of slavery. Within weeks of the election, several southern states began to secede from the Union, leading to the eventual formation of the Confederacy and the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. The secession of the South. The secession crisis has a profound impact on the United States. It tested the strength of the Union and ultimately led to the abolition of slavery, the most significant and far-reaching social and political